There are many tools to use when doing a DIY three-way switch. The first tool is a needle nose pliers. These are used to help bend your wires to properly attach the switches and light boxes. You then have your Robertson screwdriver number 1. This is for interacting and completing the circuits such as the switches and outlets. You then have Robertson screwdriver number 2. This one is used for screws located inside the receptacle boxes, octagon boxes, and light fixtures. These are wire strippers. These are used to strip the sheathing from the wires so they can be properly access the copper wire inside of them and connect properly. On the side there are different measurements for different size wires. In this case we'll be using number 14. These are stub nose pliers. These will be used to form pigtails and curl your wires together to create an attachment point for the moret. We then have our wire cutters. These are used to cut wires in a safe fashion, so you can also adjust their length. Next is our utility knife. This is used to strip the plastic from the wires in order to make sure to strip the sheathing and further manipulate the copper wiring.
Next we have the components. The first components you need are the copper gauge wiring. There are two types, the 14-2 and the 14-3. The 14-2 wires include a copper ground wire along with white and black wires used for the circuit, for a total of 3 wires. Next, you have the 14-3 copper gauge wire. This wire is different from the 14-2 as it contains 4 wires instead of 3. It has your copper, along with your white, your neutral, and black hot wire, and a new addition, a red hot wire. All of these are needed throughout the circuit to complete it. Next are the 3-way light switches. You will need 2 of them to complete these circuits. They are unique in the fact that they allow you to create a circuit that allows you to control one light from 2 different locations in a room. Mackenzie here is just giving a quick demonstration. Next, you have your receptacle boxes, of which you also need a total of 2 to complete the circuit. As you can see, there are multiple different parts to it, including some knockouts where you insert your wires. Again, you'll need 2 of them. This is your light fixture. You only need 1 of these, and it should be attached at the end of the circuit for you to insert your light bulb. These screws will come in handy later on in the circuit. To properly test the circuit, you also need a light bulb. The light bulb will be screwed into the light fixture at the end of the circuit. You also need an octagon box. It's very similar to a receptacle box, except in the shape of an octagon. It also includes multiple knockouts to insert wires. These yellow caps are called morets. You will need 4 morets for this particular circuit. They should attach to the different pigtails that you make throughout.
The first step in completing the circuit includes using your utility knife to cut one of the 14-2 wires plastic off. You want to make sure that there is an appropriate length that allows you enough maneuverability once you insert it into the receptacle box. Also, it is important to make sure that you cut away from yourself for safety reasons. Once this is done, you can then take the plastic off and throw it away in the trash.
Next, you have your wire strippers. You take them and using the number 14, strip the sheathing off of the neutral and hot wires. You want to make sure you have even amounts cut off as well, so that you can curl your copper wire once clockwise in order to create a loop that allows you to attach it to the light switch. As you can see, be very gentle when you are wiggling the sheathing off. You don't want to damage any of the wires.
You then take your wires and insert them inside one of the holes created removing a knockout. It is important to make sure that you are placing your wires under the clamp to ensure that you can properly tighten and restrict the movement of the wires. You also want to make sure you cannot see any exposed wire inside the receptacle box.
Then, using the same process you just used for the 14-2 wire, you cut your 14-3 wire with the utility knife and follow the same process. This time, you need to remove the sheathing from a new hot wire, the red one.
As you can see in the video, this is the 14-3 wire, which includes your white, your copper, your red, and your black wire. When cutting the plastic off, you want to make sure that you are cutting away from you for safety reasons. Once this is cut off, you can then toss it in the trash.
Next, you need to use the wire strippers and strip the 3 sheathed wires. At this point, there is no need to modify the ground wire. Try to ensure that all the wires have similar amounts of exposure. And again, be careful when wiggling it off. You can use your hands even if you want to.
Ensure that throughout the process you throw out any garbage or unusable material. It is important to maintain a tidy workplace.
Keep in mind the amount of plastic you have inside your box. Don't have too much, and also the amount of wire you have to work with. You should be able to easily attach them to the switch. You then take your 14-3 wire and insert it into the other knockout hole and into the receptacle box. Make sure that you are inserting it under the clamp.
After completing this step, you must then take your red Robertson screwdriver and tighten the clamp over the wires so you cannot pull them out of the box. They then should not move at all when you tug them.
Next, you take a piece of copper wire from any scrap wire you may have. This will act as your ground wire. Taking your needle nose pliers and grabbing the tip of the copper ground wire, you need to curl one end of the copper wire in a clockwise direction, thus creating a loop to attach to a screw at the bases of the receptacle box. Ensure that you are bending the wire in a clockwise direction.
Then take your copper wire and place the loop under the previously mentioned ground screw inside your receptacle box.
Once you screw that copper wire in, take your 3 copper wires and make sure they are the same length. Cut them if needed.
Next, take your stub nose pliers and grab the top of all 3 copper wires. You then want to twist your wires in a clockwise direction, creating 3 to 4 twists in your wire. This creates an attachment point for the moret. Then take one of your morets and screw them on top of the copper wire. Tug on them to make sure that they are secure.
Next, you take 2 of your white wires and complete the same process by twisting them in a clockwise motion. This is going to form another pigtail for the morets. Take your moret cap and secure it on top of the white wires.
Next, take your 2 black and red wires and curl them in a clockwise fashion. Keep in mind that you must use the tip of your needle nose pliers while doing so.
Take your red wire and create another loop. Do this for the other 2 black hot wires as well. The red will be placed on the brass screw on the side with 2 screws. Next, take your 14-2 black wire and attach it to the black screw on the side with 2 screws available. Taking your black wire from the 14-3, you must put it on the side with the lone brass screw. Now that your first receptacle box is complete, you want to take the other end of your 14-3 wire and secure the 3 wires inside your second receptacle. Be sure there is no exposed wire outside of the box.
Now take your second 14-2 wire, which is already cut on both ends, and secure it inside the receptacle box on the opposite end. Make sure you secure it as mentioned in the previous steps.
Take another spare copper wire, create a loop in a clockwise motion, and place it under a ground screw inside the receptacle box.
You then take 3 ground wires, cut them if needed to ensure that they are even in length, and twist them together in a clockwise motion. Then you secure and attach the moret cap.
Then complete the same process with 2 of your white neutral wires. Place a moret cap on top.
Then take your black wire from the 14-2 and place it on the black screw of the side with 2 screws, and then your red wire from the 14-2 on the brass screw on the same side. Then take your black wire from the 14-3 wire and place it on the screw with only one screw on the side. Make sure you're unable to see any exposed wiring around the screw or any below the light switch.
Here's what your circuit should look like so far. 2 receptacle boxes and 2 switches.
Using a green Robertson screwdriver, remove a knockout on your octagon box to create a hole to insert your wire.
Next, take your 14-2 wire and place it inside the octagon box by inserting it under the clamp. Then use your red Robertson to screw it in tightly.
Cut your 14-2 ground wire to create a loop and place it under the ground screw.
For your sake, make sure it is neat and tidy looking inside.
You then take your black wire, loop the end, and attach it under the brass screw onto the light fixture.
Then take the white wire and, following the same process, attach it to the silver screw. Make sure it is looped in a clockwise rotation. Now take your light bulb and screw it into the light fixture.
Your circuit is now ready to be tested. To do this, you need a variable power supply. Do not connect the circuit to a live outlet/wire. This would be extremely dangerous. You then take your 14-2 black hot wire and plug it into the black knob, and your white neutral wire to the red knob. To test the circuit, you need to turn a variable power supply until it reaches a voltage close to 25 volts.
When turning on the first switch, your light bulb should turn on. To turn off this light, you can use the opposite switch to do so. You can also do this vice versa. Turn it on with the second and off with the first switch. Your circuit is now complete.
Now it's time for cleanup.
For cleanup, you want to make sure that you disconnect your wires from the variable power supply after it is turned off.
You can then take your wire cutters and cut your wires from the receptacle boxes, as this will make them easier to remove.
Now unscrew your light bulb and place it in a safe place, as it is easily breakable.
Unscrew your morettes and place them in their box for storage.
Use your green Robertson screwdriver and loosen all your clamps in order to take the wires out from underneath them.
Then take your red Robertson screwdriver and unscrew all the screws inside your receptacle boxes or octagon boxes.
Finally, throw away all your used wires if they cannot be reused. It is important to have a tidy and organized area when working on circuits.
We hope that this video was informative and easy to follow. Thanks for watching.